David Schwartzman.
David Schwartzman. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've lived in DC since 1976.
Speak up.
I've been professor. I'm a professor in the Department of Biology at Howard University, right there. And I've been on the faculty since 1973. I'm an environmental scientist, and this gives me, I think, some basis for calling for green justice. That's what we need, green justice. We need to connect economic, social, and environmental justice together, and I'll talk about that a little later. But I'm 66, but I'm going to challenge the other candidates to a race from Adams Morgan to Anacostia. I did this 2 years ago, and I'm going to do it again. So that keeps me some energy level, and as I grow older, I like the saying, be as radical as reality itself. I try to be as radical as reality itself, and we got to be radical and look at real solutions to problems, and not simply put out little band-aids to things. We got to put out the programs and the ideas, and of course we have to listen to the community and learn and make them better. But we put out some ideas and make it an interactive process. So I'm particularly concerned about the budget, the DC budget, and about taxes. And I think this is really, what is the theme here of this tent city? It's an attempt to reclaim the commons. This is a struggle going on all over the world. We have to reclaim the atmosphere from the polluters so we don't plunge into catastrophic global warming. We have to reclaim our water. We have to reclaim our land. And this is a wonderful example of how we can bring the different communities together. One DC owes a great deal of credit for this, for initiating this. I also have to mention my comrade James Zara, who put a tremendous amount of effort, and we have quite a few DC Statehood-Green people that have been involved in this. Now, commons, our budget is our commons too, right? Our budget should serve the people, especially in time of a depression. For so many people, you know what the unemployment rate is, especially east of the river in Ward 5. It's just terrible. We have human rights violations going on every day in DC. Over 30% child poverty. We have to address this with a budget, but our politicians, for the most part, claim we don't have the money. Is this true? I submit, no, we do have a tax base. And this is also connected to empowering the struggle for DC statehood. We have to do better for people so people have the energy and time to fight for our full rights as citizens. And having said that, our party, by the way, accepts as equal voters in our party and decision-making non-citizens, along with registered voters. So we reject this poisonous interjection in this campaign of demonizing undocumented workers as if they're the problem. No, the real problem is that big developers are not obeying the law. They're not hiring 51% of their hires in DC residents. They're not paying a living wage. This was all documented, by the way, recently by the DC auditor. And there's no teeth in it. We need to fine them big time. We need to shut down projects. And we need to prioritize the wards that have high unemployment to be hard first. Now, getting back to the recent budget, and I'll finish up. The vote for the budget for fiscal year 2011, they cut more from the budget for survival budget, what I call the survival budget. Emergency rental assistance completely wiped out of the budget. Adult education, 1.3 million was cut. Child care, $500,000 was cut. the child care budget is 20% lower than it was 2 years ago, and yet we have at least, if not more, need for child care. So this is a survival budget for, I would say, a majority of our residents. So how did the council vote on this? Well, Graham, to his credit, introduced an amendment to modestly raise taxes on the wealthy. He got 4 other people voting with him, and I'll name them: Harry Thomas Jr., Michael Brown, Wells, and Barry. Those were the 4 others that voted with him. But they were defeated 8-5 because the incumbents that I'm running with, if I survive the primary and Darryl Moak in the primary, and he will be facing the same if he wins, the incumbents, Mendelson and Catania, both voted against modestly raising taxes on the wealthy. And if they had voted successfully, if that passed, there would have been at least 20 million more in the budget. And not only would these cuts been avoided, but they could put money back from the 50 million they cut last year in affordable housing and so on. So this I see as really a key issue. We have a tax plan that would give most people income security, lower taxes by modestly raising on the top 5%. And DC millionaires, I know some of you have heard this ad infinitum, but DC millionaires, now the top 1% is averaging $2.7 million income a year. They're paying a little over 6% of their income in DC taxes. The middle class and working class is paying 9 to 10%. And that's why we don't have sufficient money. Besides all of the hemorrhaging of our taxpayer money to these developments, tax abatements to these big developers and corporations that are unjustified, that we need to curb as well. So I would submit this should be a key issue in the campaign. I support Defeat Poverty DC, but we got to do it with teeth, with real programs that would really meet it. And I'll conclude. Green justice. What does green justice mean specifically? I've put out 2 proposals. 1, apprenticeship programs in the high schools for green jobs. So we have only 1 school that's even vocational, but that doesn't guarantee a job in graduation. We need apprenticeship programs where a high school student, once graduated, would work locally and have a job in energy conservation, solarizing the district, and urban farming. And we also need these programs in the community too, for unemployed. And finally, I would put out the idea of a congestion charge downtown DC on car commuters. This would mainly affect non-residents, but affect DC residents too. And that would potentially generate revenue so we could subsidize our metro system. Students should ride free, not pay higher fares. And this is another regressive tax that they've imposed on it. So if you want more information, go to my website, davidschwartzman.com. That's SCHWARTZMAN. And I have a lot out there, and thanks for this opportunity. And Darryl is a great candidate.